Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about these four different items. So first thing is the backend. We are going to write Java controller. Also, we'll build our own endpoints. From that, we are going to make a Postman call. Postman is basically API processing some applications that you would be able to use it. There are various tools available, but Postman is pretty popular, so that's what I have, but you'll be able to make with any API validation tools available online too. Next one, I have a MongoDB database. This is where I'll be persisting the data that is being processed through these API calls. So I'm going to show you how the MongoDB database works. And finally, we're going to do some automation test for this API using REST assured libraries, and we're going to validate request and responses, and we're going to go through some JSON flow, and these are pretty much the ideas of this series. So in order to cover this everything, just one video is not enough, so I'm going to try to make a series so it doesn't bore you with making like the longest video. So please do follow with that. So first of all, let me go to my the MongoDB, how it works. So I have already installed MongoDB, so it is pretty straightforward. You could just go online and download MongoDB, and then you can just download like any applications. There's nothing configurations needed. You can just use whatever default is there. So I'll be adding another video on how to install the MongoDB and setting up, but this video is not the purpose for that, so I assume you already have this. So like first time when you launch it, so this is what you will see. You get host name, localhost, or these are just kind of default values. You don't have to do anything here, so it's pretty much all it's covered. If you want to connect it, you can connect here with the default values. So when you launch connect to the button, then this is what you would see. Pretty much this reservation is the table that I created. But the other three are the database that's pretty much given. Do not remove them. You'd need them. So pretty much what we would do is you'd be able to go through this, create a database, and then you can create a database with the collections, and then based on that you'd be able to add your tables. So we'll go through that later. So here are kind of when you create them, this is where your table will reside. All the data will be here like that. So there are different views. One is you could look at the JSON format, and one is like a SQL tables. So this is how the data will be. So pretty much you can delete each rows or delete the table, but that's not what we want right now. So we're gonna leave this aside, and we're gonna build the new database, and we'll work with that. So I'm going to just minimize for now. So that's how the MongoDB and the Postman is. Basically, Postman is like this, right? It's just the applications. You'd be able to create a new request here, and then here are different stuffs that you would need. So you'd be clicking request, and whatever name could be like let's say something you want to check, anonymous, just do anything, whatever name you put. So it's going to store that here if you want to store, and then there are different things you'll be able to put. Pretty much most popular are the post and get. Their put and delete are also the ones. These are the four that's like a widely used. So get is pretty much you'll be able to use with just getting the URL, and then you get the data. Sometimes the get will require the additional request params, which is called query param, what means like within the get URL you might have to pass some authentication, user ID, password, or some like user unique keys or whatever values is. There are some authorization here. Authorization means you have to select. Sometimes these are kind of auth keys that you might have to pass based on what security level your APIs are. You may not always request like easily without these keys if they are secured. There are some headers. Headers are pretty much request headers that you need to pass. in order to get the API call working. Body is when you don't need for the get type, but if you have a put or any other put post and then delete, you may need this body. And then here you might have to go through raw, and you can pass the JSON data here, and you'd be able to work with that. Rest, you don't have to worry much. So I've already had some kind of dummy request. So the data are pretty much in the JSON format. That's how the rest is going to work always. Any other format it will not work. So they all HTTP requests will go through JSON file. So you have a key and value, key value, but they have to be double coded for the keys and then values separated by the column. This is just a simple one, but you may have additional like a JSON array within that. I have like a bunch of other videos in order to how the JSON data is structured. For now, we'll just keep it with whatever this request requires. So pretty much what you want to pass is based on what endpoint has their own validations. So for example, for the add students, you don't want to just add the stuffs for the animals, right? So you want to be more kind of relevant. Based on what you are passing for every field is going to be validated against this controller, which we're going to write next. So let's go with the quick diagram, like how the endpoints or this controller works. So I have built up, for example, you are going to apply for a job somewhere, some job portal. You click the apply here button, and as soon as you click, you get into the different page, right? And that page has like first name, last name, date of birth, phone number, address, highest level of educations. It's all different fields, you have it there. And obviously you're going to have like a bunch of other fields, but for now let's keep up with the simple. These are the fields we're going to pass, and based on what we filled in here, and when we hit the submit button, right? When we hit the submit button, we want that to be this data to be persisted into the database so it doesn't get lost. So if you realize that the job sometimes you apply, they said your application is in our database for 6 months, right? So this is pretty much what it happens. You submit the form, and this gets into the MongoDB or whatever database they have it, and it's going to be in there. So we're going to just mimic to that type of scenario here. We're going to write a controller where we'll be passing these values through the API. We don't have a UI, so that API meaning we'll be passing that from the Postman, right? And then we're going to come back to our MongoDB database and see our table that has that data being reflected. So everything is the local host here because it's just my local computer. But if you go to real life, like a working scenario, you're going to have different allocated server that will be like up and running all the time, right? It's a separate story, but for now we're just going to mimic how it would look like. Let's go with that. So if you see here, like first space name, that's not how the logic will be there in the programming. Mostly they are in the camel case, but this is just in the UI, right? Treat that as your application that you access through web. So web ones are like, these are kind of designed in such a way that how it is visible for the user, right? In the backend, this will be interpreted differently with how you'll be passing data along. So right here, right? That's how it is going to be mapped against. So based on whatever request it does, so it will do that for you. So here we are doing Postman for that, but if you go through UI, usually what happens is the data that you passed here will be mapped against like first name, right? This will be mapped against last name, like that, and it will create one JSON structure which would pretty much look like this, right? And then once they form that entire JSON structure, then they will be able to submit. They will request through the backend to these endpoints. So this is pretty much what the flow is. So let's go through one by one. So I have Springboot. So if Springboot is already installed, I can show you the different video how to install it, but this is a pretty much simple. Like first time when you install the Springboot, pretty much it is just a Maven, right? Maven, you can just create some of the POM artifacts, and it will just generate this whole thing for you. There are Springboot.io videos. They will have all set of instructions. So let's go with that. So as soon as you create a new Spring Boot project, this is going to be default build for you. And then what this means is you'd be able to just come here and do right click, run as Spring Boot app, and then it is going to start the localhost server for you, and then that's where you'll be accessing all your applications. So that's the one part. So let's go ahead and do some programming here. So I'm going to create a brand new package. So here, if you realize there are certain base project format, we have to follow that same convention. Otherwise, this Spring Boot will not work. So you have to pretty much follow any package that you create has to follow this pattern. Otherwise, this startup will not work for that. So you have to go through that package. So you have to obviously match that. Now you are free to write whatever you want. Now, so because I already showed you that, let's mimic this work. So it's going to call like a job application. Let's say job applicant. Let's just say applicants. Right. So applicants is my package. So here I'm going to create a first of all, let's create a DTO. So new class, it's called job applicants. Okay. So here what you would need is, the first thing is, I'm going to use the Lombok. Lombok is pretty much just the annotation based. It is going to help you with minimizing lots of codes. You just have to write one annotation and it will take care of all those. So this is going to be my data. I'm going to add 2 strings, so I don't have to write that. And then also I'm going to talk about that, but let me go ahead and write that. Document collection is equal to job applicant. So this is going to be pretty much the collection for the collection means is for the MongoDB. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that one here in the MongoDB database. So here I'm going to create one more collection. Create collection. That's going to be my table. So this is going to be 1 second. So I get here. Okay, so it worked. I don't know what happened. So once you are here, you get into that. This is reservation. Reservation is pretty much kind of top tier. We have to keep up with that. I'm going to show you where that comes from. And then job applicant is basically, that's where I want to store this table. So right now, if you see here, there's nothing to see. But if you see in some other table, there are the data. These are the data being filled from the Postman, right? So I got this just an empty table. So this is what you have to come here to do it. After that, let's go back into there. So that reservation comes from the application properties. That's where we're storing them here. If you see, that's where the MongoDB database. If you want that to be separate, you'll have to come here and make it, change it. But we have to keep that. So here I get that. So we got job applicant. They are case sensitive. You have to match it, just like how you write there. So now next step, what you have to do is pretty much you have to do some data, right? You have to map this data here. So let's keep into the one side, and then first name is first name, right? Last name. Let's keep up everything with the string format for now. So date of birth. String highest level of education, string phone number. So let's see, did I cover them all? 1 2 3 4 5 6, we got them all. So here, right, if you want to do like getter and setters, then you have to write, get, you have to return the string type, and then you have to set them. So rather, Lombok already has that setting for you, so you don't have to do anything. All you do is just getter, setter. I also like to add that ID, so it will generate one unique ID for us. So I'm going to import them all. Control Shift O is going to bring you this dialog. So Lombok, you have to just go to POM and get that Lombok annotations, that artifacts, and then it is going to take care of that. So here are some Lombok here. So this is all you need, right? And then it is going to take care of those annotations based programming. This one, I think pretty much that's what you need here. So next one, we're going to create one service class. So every controller pretty much has to be within one package, and that's so that it is easier. So now come here, same package. I'm going to create one class called new interface. This is going to be called job application service. So since we are going to use this, this is pretty much for the data purpose, right? So since we are not going to mark our data, we're going to directly link to our MongoDB database. Let's extend this with the Mongo service. So extends Mongo repository. So we're gonna need to pass this here. So whatever our collection is. So in that case, it is just copy from here inside the reservation, right? And then here we have to pass the integer is basically the unique ID. So integer is pretty much the unique ID that will be recognized to set up into the database. So when you come here, so we got this table, and we got here, we got that with the what do you call the database. So now after this, we're going to write some controller here, so which is new class. It's called what you call job application controller. So first thing you want to do here is you have to add the annotation called rest controller. Then let's go ahead and write some controller the endpoints. So first of all, I'm going to write some the get mapping. So which is a get get based HTTP method. So this is going to be just used like a get. It's called get. So here, what you want to just retrieve the data, like retrieve how many applicants are there. So you want to just get that get applicants. So pretty much this is going to be your URL, right? HTTP URL. That's what you have to pass. If you have these get applicants into your URL, and when it's matching, this is the result you are going to get. So let's get all of the lists of. Here we want the list of the job applicants. Job applicants is just the object here, right? We want to get anybody who has this object, right? That's what we want. So job, that's the list of, that's a generic, right? You know that all in the Java. So get all. Obviously you'll have to return them, right? So return. So you want to return that from the MongoDB database, so which is what our service is going to connect to. So here you have to if you create the object of this service, then you'd be able to automatically get that from the database. So MongoDB does that for you. So here we're not doing any instantiation, instead we're using AutoWord. AutoWord is the annotations for the Springboot. So I'm going to just create out the instance for this. So job list, and then everything is there. So pretty much the convention is, if the one instances you want to create, you just try to map them like the same thing, rather just because Java is case sensitive, so you just like first string, make it smaller, and everything else map it so that it's easily readable. So I'm going to just call this guy here. You have to find all. That's all you need to do. So now it is going to take care of where to go find it. So let's find this. So let's see here what is happening. So now if you come here, so I want all that, the list of the Java applicants, right? So now we got this get URL. So right now, if you go to Postman and start making the call, you'd be able to make that request. So let's start the server. So that is the server here. It is inside the main, right? You come here and then you can just right click, run as Springboot app. So you would have to wait until it gets started. So everything's started. If you realize here there are some MongoDB also cluster created. Those are for the MongoDB. And then this is already started. So it says Springboot is started. Now you can go to your browser and then open up. Say hello. Here, these are the like a startup, just a hello. This is just kind of home page. It would say hello world. Now, if you want to go to what we want in our API, which is Job Application Controller, you want to map this, right? So first, like I said, first piece will remain there, so which is called host. Host will remain. Host is like localhost 9090. Then all you do is that, and then you get this empty response. So you could literally do the same thing through the Postman. You can just go to Postman, create a new request, right? And then you can just hit that get application, and you don't have to pass anything because we don't have any auth here. No params needed. It's just so simple. There's no body needed for get type. So this is a get type. So here you get the empty response. And if you see here, there are 200 is the response code. You need to get that 200 mean like this response is okay, there's no errors on it. We will go through the errors later in the another videos, but here what we did is we just created a simple get endpoint. So the full URL for the testing would be like this. I'm just going to comment that out here, but it will be look http. I just gave that port for me, but you're free to use any ports. So then get. So this is the full endpoint URL that for automation test, this is what you're going to pass. Pretty much there's nothing different. Whatever this Postman is using, we're just using that same thing, right? So we'll do that in the next videos. But for now, I think this is pretty much all what we wanted. Let me go through quick summarize here, and then so first of all, what we did, we created this DTO, right, where we just pass what values we want. We are not there yet, but we're gonna see that. This is the controller. Controller is going to control over what request comes, and we're going to add all of the logics behind that, and then we create the endpoints. Basically, it will map against what URL is being passed to what to return, right? That is all it does. And then we have the service. Service is going to directly invoke the MongoDB database, and then it will return the job applicants table. So job applicants table is pretty much what here, right? MongoDB has it. So if you see here, job applicant, it has to map against exactly how it is. So Java application. So let's rename that. Okay, so that will take care of that. We need to get this also shorted up. So here it's not the case. Here. That's also fixed. Okay, good. So here, where's this error now? Don't worry on that. So let's go through that. So let's come here. Why this is being error now? So if I import that, that's fixed here, and then controller is. Everything's good here. So I think this is where I'm gonna pause this video, and we're gonna go through next round. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please add your comments, and I'll be happy to address them. And I'm going to go through the post, how to write the endpoints with the post mapping, and then we'll be using this same with the Postman here and make a request, and we're gonna fill up some of the data. And then this data that we create through Postman is going to reflect into the MongoDB. So now we're seeing empty, we'll see the data then. So that's going to be very interesting. Please do follow me. So in the next video, and we'll talk then. Thank you. And finally, if you have not, please do subscribe my channel and support my channel. Thank you.